The NFL Today on CBS is presented by Jeep Grand Cherokee.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Jaguars and the Chiefs. Let's take you out to Kansas City with our announcers, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson.
Welcome to Week 10 of the NFL season in Kansas City, where the Chiefs have hosted the last 4 years the AFC Championship game. They're in contention to do it once again this year at 6-2. About to host the 3-6 Jacksonville Jaguars. And hello, friends. Welcome to the booth here in Kansas City. Jim Nantz, along with Tony Romo and Tracy Wolfson. It's great to have all of you with us. Well, the Chiefs at 6-2, thanks to a hard-fought overtime win against Tennessee last week. And Andy Reid and his team, they've had to kind of rework that offense without Tyreek Hill this year, and they have found some answers. We're going to be talking about that throughout the course of this game. But today he's going against one of his proteges, a guy that used to play for him and then was an assistant, not only in Philly, but here was an offensive coordinator in KC for Coach Reid, 2013 through 15 in Doug Peterson. Let me bring in Tony. And look, Patrick Mahomes, the numbers continue to be Star Wars numbers. And here he goes, running the football, passing for 400 yards. And what can the Jags do today against him?
It's going to be hard. By the way, you said protege right there. Am I your protege? Because that feels like when you're saying it, I feel like Doug Peterson.
You want to be? I'd be happy to say that.
I tell you what, it's the same thing. But truly, Patrick Mahomes is playing at that rare spot where his athleticism is meeting his football mind. And all of a sudden, it's really hard for teams. He's going to figure out what you're doing, at some point throughout the game. The Jags have their hands full today. However, they do have the ability with a front to be able to create pressure on great quarterbacks, and they've given some of them trouble.
One of the guys I was talking about that's really started now to gel is Juju Smith-Schuster. We've seen it the last couple of weeks.
We really have, and I think it's really hard when you go to a new team, to find your niche, how to be like, what am I going to do? What's my role on this team? And I think the player, Juju, and the team knows what he's really good at, and they're starting to use him in multiple ways, Jim. And you're seeing his skill set show off. They're giving him more wiggle room now to kind of like feel and react and not just run what's on the paper of the route. And you're seeing him take off with over 100 yards in 2 of the last 3 games.
We met with the Jags last night. We like what we see. I know the record's 3-6. They haven't been blown out by anybody. They could have. They've led in every game this year.
Every game.
And their quarterback, you're impressed by what you see from Trevor.
I am. It's like he's in his second year, so everyone wants it to fast forward, and he's either great or he's not. And I think you're seeing a guy really come into his zone. He played his best game of the season last week. And in that second half, he was 15-16. And they came back against the Raiders, and they weren't doing it earlier in the year. You see, these type of throws, those aren't normal. You don't just drop them in a bucket aggressively, and you don't stand in and take shots and throw it 25 yards down the field on a dime. And then the athleticism to move, create, and then throw it to the sideline. That's why he's the number 1 pick in the draft, and I think you're going to see him get better and better.
Speaking of number 1, tell us what you like about this guy right here, ETN. He's been sensational. Over 100 the last 3 weeks.
I think this is why they traded James Robinson. I think you put the tape on and you're like, this is the guy. We got to get him the football, and they've been doing that, and that's made them very hard. And I think you're seeing Jacksonville come into their own. This is going to be a game, Jim. This team is good.
And what must they do to stay in this game, to do that, to be in it?
Well, they got to continue to run the football, and really the evolution of Trevor Lawrence could start here today. Or does Mahomes come back with his magic?
It's a raucous scene as always. We got it coming up next on CBS. Chilly in Chiefs Kingdom. It is downright cold, but we're set for a good one. Jacksonville and Kansas City. It's next on CBS.
CBS Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
Jacksonville about to kick to Kansas City. Before that, though, let's bring in Tracy down on the sideline. Trace?
Jim, Doug Peterson told us this is a benchmark game for them. They are coming off a huge win over the Raiders. They were down 17-0, and they snapped a 5-game losing streak. But Peterson told us now they need to string together some wins. They need to be more consistent. They need to gain some confidence. And what better way than in this environment? On the road, it is cold, it is loud. He's facing his mentor and Andy Reid, and it is the Kansas City Chiefs, Jim.
That's a lot to consider right there. All the way from Florida, I guess not from Jacksonville, though, wearing all that Chiefs gear. The Jags, when they left yesterday, was 82 degrees back home. Here it's 35, feels like 25. That's one way to keep warm.
What a layout right there. That's incredible. I got me going right here. This atmosphere. This is where you want to play in big games. I mean, they're the new kind of standard, right, in the AFC. We had the Patriots for so long. Now it's coming in here.
Outside kick to start it. And the Jags have recovered, I believe.
Of course, as we're talking about it. This is amazing. What a call.
Riley Patterson, the kicker, executing it to perfection, and they recovered it as well. Doug Peterson comes back to Kansas City, former offensive coordinator here. He calls for the onside kick. Remember, the Chiefs won the toss and wanted the football, and they got caught napping to open the game.
Well, guess what? Heath Farwell, there's Doug Peterson. The student becomes the master all of a sudden, but Heath Farwell, the special teams coordinator, comes up with a great way to get off to a great start. But he's the guy. The special teams coordinator for the Jags was on the Bills last year.